Okay, Judy, we are working on the second part of Sweet Hour of Prayer, and I kind of introduced the idea of thinking of it all as being in transpositions. We're talking about how D is the one in D, A is the one in A, and if everything is relative to that number one, using the major scale, you can just sort of play through the melody and not think too much about literally what notes you're playing. So, for instance, when we were looking at the song in D, we watched through it. I can't screen capture right now, but we're looking at the piece of music, and we watched. You actually told me this is a very good accomplishment to be able to read through it and think of it in numbers. But you start the melody on the second page of this song on the 5 of in A. Okay, so it's E, and then you go up from there. You can go 5, 5, 8, 7, 8, 6, 5, 3, 5, and we just sort of read through those, just thinking about watching the notes as they move around on the page. And if you're going from a line to the next line up, that's a third. So if you're going to start on 1 and move up to the next line, it's 1, 3, and that kind of thing. There's little tricks you can do. We can do more with that later, but if you know that much, the real bulk of this lesson today is being able to play that along one string. Okay, now because we're playing it on the second string, we lose 1, which would be A, on the third string. So that's 1. And in the key of A, we go up a whole step from A to this open B. So we have 1, 2, 3, half step to 4, whole step to 5. That's an important note right there. It's a really unique and kind of cool thing that 5 in the key of A is actually on the 5th fret right here, and it's a nice little marker, okay? 1 on A, open B on the second string, C sharp is 3, half step to 4, 5 again, whole step to 6, whole step to 7, that's your leading tone, back to A. We know that's A because of these double dots right here. That means this is open B, so this double dot is an octave B. Whole step behind that would be A. So it's easy to find A if you think about it. Where's the high A on the second string? Well, this is B, so that means a whole step behind it must be A. Okay? So that's kind of a neat thing to work on for a second if you think of going, here's 1, and then where's the octave? 1A, octave A. In this case, we're calling this 1 and 8. And then another one defined is 5. It just helps you move around, because if you know where 5 is, you know where 6 is, and you know where 4 is. And if you know where 8 is, you know where 7 is. Okay? It just helps to kind of get your bearings about you. So, knowing that, if I say we're going to go 5, 8 in the melody, find 5, 5, 8, okay? 5, 8. That's what the melody's doing. 5, 8, 7, 8. 5, 8, 7, 8. Okay, that half step right there. That's your major scale. 5, 8, 7, 8. The next note is 6, 5. Okay, you're on 8, 6, 5. Okay, so you start on 5, 5, 8, 7, 8, 6, 5. Okay? We're on that 5 right now, that note I just played. I'm going to repeat it for the sake of where we are in the song right now. We're going to go 5, 3, 5, 5, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 5, okay? And actually, if you just think of it going 5, 3, 5, because that melodic part starts to repeat. So starting from the beginning, we went 5, 8, 7, 8, 6, 5, 3, 5. Okay, that's the whole phrase. One more time. 5, 8, 7, 8, 6, 5, 3, 5. Okay? And then it repeats itself. 5, 8, 7, 8, 6, 5. This is where it does something a little different. 3, 2. Okay? Open 2. Alright? It's just a cool exercise if we kind of just follow along with me when you're doing that. I think it's a neat thing to think about. We won't do that necessarily for the whole song. Maybe. I don't know. It's just a cool thing to think about where you are on this. Once you get the hang of that, then it's just adding a third below it. Okay? And I already did that on your second page here, but let's think about it for a second. It's a little harder to do when you're going on the second string, because well, think about when we were thinking about the third string and we were playing notes on the third string, and we're doing your middle finger stayed on that string the whole time, and it didn't have to move, and our first finger and third finger kind of adapted. Well, that's when you have a note on the third string and you're putting a third above it as the harmony. We're playing on the second string, and we're adding a third below it on the next string. So you would have to kind of anticipate, if you're playing the third note, then you have to just know to play with your ring finger. And then when you go to the fourth note, you have to know you play it with the first finger, like that. So you're going to have to go. It just kind of helps when you bounce around. You're going to go 5, nice, Dean. 5, 1, yeah. 5, 5, 1. So you kind of work on that. 5, 1. Okay, those are the shapes it makes. Now it feels weird because you're thinking about 5, and you're thinking about 1, and you're thinking about those being major chords, but you're playing this minor shape. It's just because you're talking about the note that's a third below the note you're playing, and it doesn't necessarily always follow that rule, okay? But if you look at it and just think, well, this is 5, so if I'm playing 5 and I'm playing a third below it, then it ends up being C sharp. E to C sharp ends up being a whole plus a half. It's just different. So, yeah, and there's a better way I can explain it, so I'm going to try to think about it for next time. But just know right now that it doesn't always feel as nice as when you have the notes going across the third string and you're making the harmony, the note above it. This is that the melody is the highest note you hear, and we're going a third below it. So you just kind of have to get used to this. So you're on this note that the melody is on 5. So you put your first finger on that note, put your middle finger down for the third below it, and you're actually going to take your first finger and move straight from this 5 note to the 1 or the 8. Just get used to that. 5, 8. Okay. Now to get to the 7, we drag our middle finger across the string, but you got to be thinking about what's happening on the second string. We're going to put our ring finger behind our first finger. And just do that a couple times. It's a little awkward, but once you get the hang of it, it's actually not too bad. So you start here, 5, 8, 7, 8, right? Yeah, 6. Sorry. 5, 8, 7, 8, 6. See the ring finger coming down? 5, 8, 7, 8, 6, 5. Right? There's another one to get used to. 5, 3, 5. Okay? Starting on 5. 5, 3, 5. Over and over again. 5, 3, 5. Just pay attention to you're going from the first finger being down to the ring finger being down. Okay? And if that's all you do this week, that's pretty awesome to be able to play through that phrase. Let's finish that phrase off, though. Whoops, I have the wrong sheet in front of me. This is getting to be a long video. 5, 8, 7, 8, 6, 5, 3, 5. And it starts the same way. 5, 8, 7, 8, 6, 5, 3. What happens next? 5, 3. Yeah. It goes to the 7. Sorry, it goes to the 2. Okay, so we went from here. 5, 8, 7, 8, 6, 5. Not daggone it. 5, 8, 7, 8, 6, 5. We're going down to 3 and then 2. 3. And I remember we're going to go to the open B, which means we got to go to this. It's this shape, but we don't have that finger down. So it's kind of getting used to that. Either one, I kind of like going like that. And I would just practice 5, 3, 2. And And that puts that whole thing together. Don't worry about the bass notes for now. It's just a way of taking that thing we did before, thinking about how the notes are scale degrees, and if you can get the hang of it and move up and down the neck that way, then we add the thirds below it. The trick is then worrying about which finger is playing in which spot. But if you practice this line this way, and having practiced the page before, I think it won't be too bad. It may take a couple days, but I think you'll be fine. If you have any questions, let me know.